Hello, everybody. It is Chris, aka Starrapter. We're here for a very special video. It's that time of the year. We're talking about our top 5 games of 2023: Xbox, PC, PlayStation, Nintendo. I couldn't do this all by myself, so I brought along some reinforcements. I got Fighter here. I got Johnny. I got JT. How's it going, everybody?
What's going on?
Going
Oh,
good?
man. Yeah, so this was one of the best years, I think a lot of people will say. Like, I think 2007 was a really great year for gaming. I believe it was 1998 was a really great year for gaming. But as far as the game content themselves, this was a stellar year. So I feel like we might have some heated discussions at some points during this, but I'm really happy to get into this discussion. We tried doing something like this on the Starrapter YouTube channel a little bit ago, several years ago, actually. I believe it was Johnny, me, and JT. So, barring any audio issues, there's been a lot of improvements here in the studio since then. So I think we'll be good to go. But I think we're gonna just go ahead and start off with our honorable mentions if we have any. I'm gonna throw this one over to you, JT. Do you have any honorable mentions before we get into our top 5?
Uh, yeah, so my requirements for Game of the Year leave quite a few titles as honorable mentions.
Hmm.
Um, for these reasons, Dead Space Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake, while both amazing, the
Yep.
remakes, they've already come out. Um, and I have three other honorable mentions. Not that I've played all of them. I haven't played Zelda, but Switch exclusive, it doesn't reach the full spectrum of players. And same can be said for Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16. Played both of them. They were fun enough. Spider-Man 2 was amazing, but you're not reaching everybody. You can't call it Game of the Year. So,
That is a really good perspective. I like that you gave us there, JT, because I actually have one of those games on my list you just mentioned for my honorable mentions, and we'll take time to talk about it a little bit since you mentioned it. Dead Space. I have two things about this why I had to put it in my honorable mentions. One, it's a remake, and we've seen that the official game of the year, I don't even know if you want to call it official, but the Jeff Keighley's game of the year, that was nominated for a game of the year, and I was like, I don't know if I feel right about that either. It's a game that was already being made and whatnot. I'm also only on chapter 6 of the game, so the games I'm actually recommending are games that I've pretty much completed for the most part, I would say, as far as stories concerned. So since I'm in the middle of the game, I'm really enjoying the game. It definitely could have been on my top 5, but I'm not ready to say it is game of the year. I mean, the ending could completely suck and that it would just throw the thing off. I doubt it, but yeah, no, Dead Space is really fun. I like the two things that stand out for me are the graphics, just the really horrific goriness to it, the amount of lived-in feeling it gives you of this ship, the Ishimura, just floating in space, and the sound design. Oh my gosh, the sound design is something that stood out to me more than any other game I've played in a long time. Just every little thing just answers just enhances your suspense as you're walking through these dark corridors, jump scares all about you. Johnny or Fighter, ended up playing Dead Space at all this year? The remake?
Oh, I beat it. I enjoyed it.
Ooh,
Like JT and like you, it's an honorable mention just because it can't be Game of the Year if it's something that already came out. Um, like you said, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with everything you said, the atmosphere, the sounds, everything like that. Another thing that they did that I liked and appreciated, they tweaked some of the levels just a little bit. So while it was still the same game, it still felt a little fresh in some areas, so it was something new. Um, the one disappointing thing was it still held on to all those original jump scares. It didn't feel like there were any new like jump scares or anything like that that they tried to implement into the game, so I was a little disappointed there, but overall I thought it was pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah,
I really liked. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
no, it was just like I was agreeing with everybody else saying like it was a remake, and the one thing I did appreciate it was that I don't know if you remember back for Dead Space 1, the control schematics from 1 to 2 were severely different in playstyles. Like you had awkward button map loadouts where your sprint was like on the other side of the controller. So it was good to see that they took the 2 and 3 Dead Space mappings and kept it going with the remake. So I did appreciate that fact. It felt a lot more smoother to play with that controller scheme than it did with its original. But no, I agree with everybody else's points that it was a remake and a nostalgia purpose. Therefore, I don't think it was meant to have a Game of the Year nomination. I'm glad that that studio got like recognized for their work and their effort.
Mhm.
But like we said, it's a remake. It hits the nostalgia point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So this was my honorable mention, my single honorable mention. I'll throw it over to Johnny. Do you have any honorable mentions besides Dead Space?
Besides Dead Space and Resident Evil 4, again,
Oh yeah.
remakes, so don't really want to call them Game of the Year. One that wasn't mentioned, I'm currently playing it now. I just got into it. The reason why it's quickly on my honorable mentions is because I'm not a fan of this game style originally, but this game has hooked me already. Alien Dark Descent.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the Alien movie franchise, so it was on sale for like $25, I think. So I took the risk, I gambled, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a strategy top-down game. The game is always, it's kind of XCOM-y-ish, but instead of turn-based, the game is always moving.
Okay.
So it adds that suspense of like you gotta quickly make decisions.
No.
Yeah. Yep. I think we got.
The
I think you
aliens
got
are
a little
coming,
cut
are
off there.
constantly
Okay.
rushing in. But overall, I mean, I was playing last night with in a party with JT, and I think he can attest. Like, it was getting the suspense going for me. Like, I was really getting nervous, kind of thing. Like, what's around this corner, down the dark corridor. The way the gameplay is set up is very unique. And that's why I gotta at least mention it, because I haven't really heard anyone talking about it.
I've honestly not even heard about the game. I know there's been a lot of Alien games, some a bit more infamous than others, like Colonial Marines. People love to hate on that game. And then Alien Isolation, I think, was a pretty decent game. It's survival, and it's the best. But yeah, no, that sounds really neat. I'm gonna have to look into that because we don't get a lot of isometric top-down like style games, and it being in the Alien franchise with having that element of shock and surprise and jump scare sounds like it'd be pretty cool to have that genre's take on it.
It's unique to have a good Alien game again, because like you said, we don't get many of them. So this is definitely one I feel like is a good one that's going to go down in the books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What
Funny
about
enough,
you,
it's
Fighter?
under
Do you
the-
have any?
as under the radar, it does have a 9 out of 10 on Steam.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 on Steam and 94% for Google users. So
that's impressive. That's impressive. We have to take a
People have
closer look.
spoken.
Yeah. And Fighter, do you want to mention any of honorable mentions?
Oh shoot! There's so many games.
I
man.
know.
I mean, outside of like the mainstream like games that have been like represented on the Game Awards, one that I did enjoy were well, it's called DNF Duel. It is a animated fighting game that was made by the same people, or at least partnered with the same people that did Blaze Blue, Nights and Birth, and all them. It is a very simple fighting game. There's not a lot of like map controls like Tekken or Soul Calibur and stuff like that. It's
Okay.
if you know where the moves are going to go, you know the timing, you're going to get a huge combo off. And I just liked how simple it felt. Even when you're playing ranked lobbies,
Mm-hmm.
it still feels like you had a chance to make a comeback. And all you needed was just that one right time window to just get that punish off.
This year has been a really big year for fighting games. I mean, we had Street Fighter. They're coming out with
Sure.
Tekken, I think, right? They're Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat.
Nate.
It's been very, very busy. So I'm not going to mention. I'll spoil it. I'm not going to mention any fighting games on my list, but I'm very curious to see if any of you guys end up mentioning one or two of those games coming up here.
I'm all set for Tekken 8. Ooh.
Yeah, that's coming out in the beginning of the year,
Throw down
right?
that 8D pad, man.
Oh. All right, so we're going to get into the show proper here, but first some housekeeping. So if you guys are joining us live, thank you very much. You can put in your game of the year in the comment section down below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so be notified whenever future video game content goes on the channel. Maybe I'll do more of this. We'll see. So I'm going to throw it over to JT. We start with you with honorable mentions. What's your number 5 for top games of the year?
Oh boy, my number 5 for top games of the year. It's hard to pick between these two.
Yep.
I'm gonna say my number 4 and my number 5 are probably pretty even. I'm gonna call it number 5 just by a hair. I'm gonna give it to actually, is that a remake? That's a remake. Breaking my own rules. Breaking my own
His own
rules.
cold gentleman.
All right, so we'll throw Lords of the Fallen down into the honorable mentions.
Wait, that's
And,
a sequel. Wait.
I wouldn't
I
say that's a
literally-
remake.
I
I'd be
actually
hesitant
know.
there.
I actually know. This is something I could
Is it a
attest to.
reboot?
At New York
Is it a
Comic Con,
reboot?
they had a Lords of the Fallen bus, and I was on the bus, and I was talking to the creators, and at one point IGN put a microphone in my face and said, "Can you just please talk like you've been doing the last 5 minutes? You're really good at explaining gameplay as you're playing the game." And I was just like, sure. So the guy, and I was literally asking him, I literally asked him, I said, "What is the deal with this game?" He's like, "Yeah, it's basically like a sequel far into the future of the game." And I was like, "Do you have to play the previous game?" He's like, "Absolutely not. You can just start with this game." So I think it's kind of like a reboot in a sense where they're making this game kind of from the ground up to be like that. But technically, in the lore wise, I think I'll give it to you because, I mean, hell, the director of the game was telling me this. I think that's good enough, right?
Well, we're going to go ahead and call it a C-boot then, which is good enough for me. So number 5 goes to Lords of the Fallen.
But yeah, so I'll tell you about my experience. So I got to play for about 30, 45 minutes, and those games are not kind of my jam for the most part. Like Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, the closest I'll ever come to playing Soulsborne's games. I was, flipping around the idea about the one that came to Xbox Game Pass, the Pinocchio one. I was thinking about trying that out, but from what I played with this one, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's one of the very few games on Unreal Engine 5, so very pretty. And it's got this interesting design, at least the level I was playing, where you can like split to like a different realm and different things constantly. Yeah. So it was very unique in that regard, and I really liked the amount of character choice. Like when you first start the game, there had to be, I think the guy said there was like maybe like 12 or 15 classes. So just having that amount of choice was something pretty cool. And all the weapons, you could have dual wield, you can go single sword, shield, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed from what I played.
Yeah, it's much better than the first one. It looks great. It feels so much better than the first one. And it's much more faithful to the Soulsborne formula. And with its own unique things, like the alternate world, it's Umbral something.
Umbral, yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
But it's very creative in that sense. But,
yeah, it played very well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
very
that one
smooth.
takes my number 5.
Yeah. So I'll throw it over to you, Johnny. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
It's definitely top 5 for me. Great game. Had a lot of fun playing it. My issue it's a big game. It's a big world. Yep. I just got overwhelmed with it. I put it aside and I'm having a hard time getting back into it. It's the only reason it's not higher on the list. And everything about it I've loved so far. So I'm not saying anything bad about it. But there are a few other games I've gotten much further in that I'm enjoying a lot more.
Yeah, you talk about, and spoiler alert, this is not going to be the first time we're talking about this game. So I'm going to have to try to come up with multiple things to say about the game every time this comes up. But sticking on what you're saying, player choice has been the big positive that came from the first game. You talk about a sequel. What a sequel needs to do is capitalize on everything the first game was and make it better and introduce more mechanics and, of course, make things look better, enemy type stuff. Like it does all that in spades, but just looking at the center world of Kobo, which is that more open space, it's really neat because it just adds like this whole nother element that Fallen Order never really had, which is the amount of exploration that is rewarding. You're getting these different enhancements to your character, but also to how you look too. So there's a lot of player choice in that regard. And I guess it kind of almost felt like I've never played Elden Ring, but I guess it would be sort of similar to that, where you just kind of, at least on that planet, you can go and do, hey, I want to see what's in this cave. Oh, it's a freaking Rancor. What the hell? So it's kind of fun because like I'm talking to people like you guys and other friends like, hey, did you find this area in Survivor? No, I didn't. So it's got that water cooler kind of talk because it opened up the world. Not everybody is going to see every single thing. And that's where it can be overwhelming, but also could be really fun because you could spend a lot more time in this game than you could the previous one. So.
One thing I wanted to mention with Jedi Survivor, you talked about the exploration. One thing I wanted to bring up just further in depth with the exploration is the movement with exploration. That's something I think they did really well with Jedi Survivor. The wall running, just the way everything transitions into the next step. It's just so fluid. I just felt like that needs to be said because that's something that just made the game that much more enjoyable to explore. Yes, at times it felt like a little bit of a chore looking for things in the tiniest crevices and corners, but it definitely made it at least a little more doable, enjoyable.
Yeah.
My Kobo completion is stuck at 99%. And I cannot find the last thing.
Did you get the seeds on the roof? There was like something with the seeds on top of the roof, and there was something you can unlock with the droid or something. I don't know.
Dude, I've been through. Part of me is worried that my map is just bugged. I've been through every pixel of that whole planet, and I just can't get it.
Jeez.
I can't.
Is there like an actual achievement tied to that?
I don't know if there is or not, but I completed Jedi Fallen Order 100% like 7 times. So it's a series that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I was kind of going for that 100% on Survivor, but
there's got to be an achievement
that
tied.
Hung me up.
100%.
I'm sure there is.
But John, you mentioned motion, you mentioned traversal. Yeah, they did a great job. Respawn is known for traversal. I mean, you look at Apex Legends, the ability to slide and clamber up walls, going from Titanfall with wall running. They do.
Don't dare talk about Apex and not talk about Titanfall. That's where that core movement of theirs came from. They did Titanfall, and it was even back from D1. Titanfall 1, like the movement was just that good for wall running, shooting, climbing, mantling, and stuff like that. And they just took it and ran with it into the second one. You even look at other companies that tried to do the same thing, like Call of Duty, when they tried to get all futuristic. They also started doing wall running and everything else.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'll say that Respawn does a good way of doing movement mechanics.
Oh yeah. What's your number 5 fighter?
I'm actually going to put it out there with Capcom and being Exo Primal.
Oh.
Exo Primal was fun. It still is to this day, but it's just a lot of other games have taken my time. We all know what that's like. But it's at its core, it is a PvP PvE shooter race down to see who can get to the objective first before the final team. And I like the fact that it's not always like that. You do have your missions where it's like, hey, you and this team and that enemy team are going to work together to complete this entire mission. Have fun. Meanwhile, there's a T-Rex coming after you that's supercharged. I'm sorry, what? And then it's just also like, you have such a good cohesion of people being able to just switch in and out of mech suits based on the situation that it calls for. Like if you need more tanks, 2 people can switch to a tank and just give you that extra protection to give you more time to deal more damage. Or if you need more damage, you can go all out on DPS. So just being able to instantly swap on demand between mech suits, classes, abilities, that's really flushed out. And I love the fact that Capcom's also using their other IPs to do events. Like right now we have a Street Fighter event going on where 3 of their mech suits are based off of Guile, Chun-Li, and Ryu. Now, me personally, I would have liked to seen mech suits actually based around those characters, but it is what it is. And they also have a battle pass system that's just purely cosmetic. There is no, hey, this weapon's better than this, or this upgrade's tied to this. It's just pure cosmetic. Play the game, enjoy the game, get rewarded for it.
Yeah, I wish more game studios would be like that, because honestly, it gets out of control, you know? But no, that's a game that I was always seeing from the periphery, like, oh, this Exo Primal game, it's been on the rise, and it finally, I think it came out the Xbox Game Pass, which probably gave it a bit of a boost, and yeah, so anything with dinosaurs is instantly like, oh, this instantly interests me.
Who don't love shooting dinosaurs? I mean, I would like to have a Turok, but
oh yeah, going back to the N64 days of Turok, jeez, I love that game. We are getting that Jurassic Park game, though. Jurassic Park Survival, I believe, is the name. Oh, man. It's going to be awesome. My number 5 is a game that got shadow dropped during a Xbox Direct, which is like their like little studio showcases that they're going to do a couple times a year. And that is Hi-Fi Rush. This game literally was announced and they said, oh, later today you can download it on Game Pass. Have fun. And, you know, it's a short little linear experience, but what's really cool about this game is the way it uses music to basically enhance the experience. You're hitting the beat with the buttons to actually hack and slash people at the same time. And there is a little bit more to just hack and slash. There's actually pairing and a lot more complex maneuvers you're gonna have to do, but it's fun platforming. The game looks amazing because it's that shell shaded. It instantly brought to mind Jet Set Radio. I just really loved it. The characters are so great, so larger than life. It's got that punk rock feel to it. I mean, you're slashing at people or robots, I mean, with a freaking guitar. And it's just so much fun. And by the end of the game, you're fighting bosses and there's like all different kind of mechanics that are thrown your way. It never feels stale. It never, you know, overstays its welcome. I think it's like basically 8-hour, 10-hour game at the max. And I really enjoyed the heck out of it. I don't know if any of you guys have played it, but I enjoyed my time with it quite a bit.
I did download it and played it a little bit.
Yeah. So
I personally am not a fan of those kind of games. There's another game that was kind of like that was on the Game Pass. Hellbent or something like that. Hellslinger,
Metal Hellsinger, yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming it kind of plays like that from what I've gathered. And I thought being a musician, that would be like an awesome game.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a big fan of it. It's just something about those kind of that game style just doesn't click with me. So unfortunately, I haven't given it a shot myself.
Yeah. To each their own, right? And the cool thing about the game is it does have some accessibility options. Like, you aren't necessarily penalized like for not hitting people on the beat. Like, you could play the entire game just hack and slash at will, but you'll get like, you know, extra damage boosts or something if you actually hit the timer, you know, pretty frequently and pretty consistently. So yeah, that is my number 5. So with that, we got through our number 5s. We're gonna go to number 4. Back to JT.
All right. There was any hint from how I was talking about the last one. My number 4 is Lies of P.
That's the name I couldn't remember.
It's Bloodborne on Xbox, and Bloodborne is by and large my favorite Soulsborne. game. So this just takes it, honestly.
Now, Lies of P is made from a separate company than like all the other Soul games that we have seen, correct?
Yes, it is a separate company. It is just a Souls-like. However, it's probably the most what's the word? I can't think of the word. But it's one of the best out there. It's getting a lot of praise this year for that reason.
What sets it apart from like Dark Souls or Bloodborne? What's its like own like little unique mechanic, if there is any?
So I think the most unique mechanic about Lies of P is the weapon system. I guess you could say it's similar to like how Bloodborne has their trick weapons, but with Lies of P you have your handles for weapons, and then you have your blades or your axe heads or your hammer heads or whatever. And the move set itself is tied to the handle.
Oh.
And then the effects and the damage is tied to the blade or the axe head or the hammer head. And you can actually like mix and match different handles and weapon heads for different effects. And you can really customize it to how you want to play.
Okay.
It's very...
Yeah, go ahead.
It's very... it's not quite as parry-focused as... It's not parry-focused in the same way as Bloodborne. Obviously, Bloodborne, you have your offhand guns for all your parrying. But Lies of P definitely has more avenues that you can take to play how you want.
Oh, okay. And the story, right? It's Pinocchio or something in a dark fantasy? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah. It's Lies of P, Pinocchio. It's it's just a really eldritch horror type Victorian take on that story, you know. As soon as you start it, you feel like you're playing Bloodborne.
Okay.
And it is more, the enemies get to a point where it's more than just, robot toys and stuff and puppets. Like
cool.
it actually gets to like monsters and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and we're gonna move over to Johnny. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is actually a game that quickly got put on there just because of how much fun I'm having playing it now. Something I didn't think I'd enjoy. Baldur's Gate. JT and I are currently playing it now. We have a nice little party. We're kind of in a little pickle right now that we're probably going to try to get out of once we're done with this. But it's actually been a lot of fun. I'm not big into turn-based games. Not something I can really clicks with me outside of Pokemon, so I'm very picky with those kind of games. But the level of customization and just how you can approach the different scenarios and what you can do, that level is just something unlike any other game that it feels like it's just having a lot of fun with it. So I haven't gotten that far into it. I mean, we're like an hour into the game.
Oh my gosh.
We finally have our 4-man party. We just found Gale, our wizard. So we're making progress. We're gonna see what happens, but yeah, that's gonna be my number 4.
Yeah, what races did you both pick?
So I am a triling. I'm a bard. So with them, they have one of their sub races or subclasses. They give you a boost to your skill checks. So being a bard, that's why I went with them.
Oh, that's so cool. What about you, JT?
now I'm running a elf ranger.
All right, so getting that Legolas power fantasy going. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we've heard nothing but great things. I haven't heard a bad thing about Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, I think Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was the front runner for a while for Game of the Year for, the Jeff Keighley things and all. and then suddenly Baldur's Gate. I feel like that game got dropped out of nowhere. Like one day the
I
game was
wasn't.
out.
Yeah,
Then people were
I was
like,
waiting for it on Xbox for a while,
"Yeah,
um, and then just out of nowhere, like right at the Game Awards, out of nowhere, oh, it's there.
yeah." There was this whole little controversy about the series, and unfortunately, Johnny, you got the first effect of this. How the Series S can't actually do local co-op. And that was the holdup on the Xbox version because Xbox has had this whole thing of the system parity where if the X and the S can't do the same thing, then the game doesn't come out. And apparently, like fans outraged and they're like, "Wait a minute, you're gonna say you're gonna have a third party game of the year not on Xbox?" So Phil Spencer, CEO of Xbox, basically had to make a call. It sounds like to be like, "All right, this is the exception. We'll put this out. It won't have co-op, but at least it'll be on Xbox." That's what it seemed like it was. This game was the game to get Xbox to make an exception on their whole stance.
It was disappointing when my girlfriend and I tried to start a party over the weekend, but it is what it is. At least we do it online, so at least we can still get the co-op experience.
Yeah.
Now, what I call me, maybe I've been under a rock or whatnot, but Baldur's Gate 3 seems like it got a lot of hype behind it. Are you guys familiar with Baldur's Gate 1 or 2?
I remember
Because ever since 3, I've never the name was not familiar to me. I've never heard of them beforehand. So when 3 came out, I finally started like looking into it. I'm not sure if you guys were familiar with the franchise beforehand.
This is how far back it goes. I think Baldur's Gate 2 came out probably in like early 2000s because I remember going with my father to like CompUSA or Staples when they all had PC games back then, and I would always see a box of Baldur's Gate 2. I'd be like, "What is this?" Like, it doesn't even run on my computer at this time because I have like a stupid little computer that doesn't have even accelerated GPUs or anything, so I couldn't play it. But then I also realized that this was like the most techie game alive because it's D&D, and I guess back then no one cared. Like a lot of people didn't even know what D&D was, or they didn't think it was cool. Everybody was more like playing like Medal of Honor back then was the big thing before Call of Duty. So I feel like it was more of a niche genre, and now with D&D like way more prevalent with people. And this game basically almost being the closest thing you could do to D&D without actually playing D&D, and that helped. But what I also learned is that this game was in some kind of early access for, somebody told me, almost 10 years that this game has been in early access. And I think
It's
what
been
happened
on PC for a long time.
yeah, so I think there's
Wow.
been really good word when this game was going to officially launch. Like the community was like, "You guys aren't ready for this game. We've been playing it for like years," and it is. They've been able to iterate on themselves. Like the studio is Larian Studios. They are not like tied to any other publisher. They're independent technically, so they could take as long as they wanted to make this game, and that's what apparently they did. Was they spent years and years, as you guys are experiencing now, like all the choices you make and everything. I haven't played the game yet myself, but all the choices you make, there are so many different storylines. Like no one will ever play it the same way, it seems like, from what I can imagine. So it's because of this early access they've had for years and years and years that now the game is a 1.0 launch, and they're like, the game is ready. This is the game, and we know how good it is. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah. Our Star Wars Lord and Savior Sam Witwer likes to stream Baldur's Gate 1
Oh.
and 2 on Twitch occasionally. It's a fun watch.
1 and
very
2.
old.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. But seems like it's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, Fighter. What's your number 4?
I'm in the same boat as JT. There's 2 games that are probably going to be fighting neck and neck for it. But I'm probably going to go and say Street Fighter 6 is probably my number 4. The reason that I like it so much is because I grew up with Street Fighter, just like everyone else did, and it's just that old classic title that we know, we see it, we love it, play it. It's that let's have some of the guys come over. Let's play some Smash, Street Fighter, and just enjoy the collision of I'm the better player. No, I'm the better player. And it's also just the multiple ways to play the game. You have World Tour where you can make your own character with meeting some of the other characters as your teachers and pick up their moves to use your move set. Then you have online arcade battles where you can just be online and play matches with other people or watch other people play matches online, even tournament modes. And then you just have, like I said, then you just have your classical sit on the couch and just fight with your friends. So Street Fighter is just one of those good old fashioned. I'm gonna pick up a controller and I'm just gonna play some fighting games.
Yeah, so Fighter, I've seen that there is some kind of story mode or campaign where your fighters are literally just like walking around a city and they can challenge like a grandmother to fight or something
Oh
on
yeah,
the sidewalk.
oh yeah, that's World Tour, baby. You just make your own character. You can be in a pair of pajamas or a chicken suit. Just walk up to Granny and say, "Hey, you and me, we having a throwdown." Next thing you know, she starts popping off like Yoda, and you're like, "Whoa, where's this coming from?"
So that's awesome. As far as, I mean, this could have been a simple cut and paste, right? But what makes this iteration of Street Fighter better than, let's say, the last few, if it is?
So when you look at four and five, it is that old school formula of Street Fighter. Down to its core, it will always be the same. 4 to 5, you just had your choral circles, your zigzags, your throws, and combos, and stuff like that. 5 came into the mix where it was a lot more counter and punish and being able to get to that opening to get off that super combo. Going from 5 to 6, 5 to 6, you had more character flusherization come out, like Ken Masters being not this punk smart aleck. He's now trying to reclaim what his name was. I don't know the full story. I just started picking it up a little bit. But you have characters like Ken, who's going down the same path as old Ryu, where he's on a journey. You have Ryu, who's finally becoming the master of that style and being able to pass on what he's teached.
Mm-hmm.
You have other characters like Cody, who's this big. He tells you to call him your coach, and he's just this trainee guy from a military police force. And then you have old school classics like DJ, who just comes out of nowhere with his festival style. So it's just a lot more flushed out character design, storytelling, and creating that world of Street Fighter more instead of just having it that stagnant. And Bison is your villain. He's trying to do something bad in the world. Chun-Li's going after him. Ryu is still trying to fight Akuma to stay as his pure self. Akuma just wants to be like a fighter, just like I want to prove I'm the best. So overall, Street Fighter 6 just has that better fuss out versions of characters and being able to tell a better storyline instead of it being the same copy and paste story segment that we have seen from 4 to 5 and so on and so on.
Yeah, I don't usually think about fighting games as having a super in-depth story, so it's nice to know that this one actually has something that just goes beyond and kind of goes outside the box a little bit for the most part. But yeah, I mean, this game, the previous one, wasn't it like a PlayStation exclusive or something?
I believe so, and I don't. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if 6 is on Xbox.
I have a good feeling it probably is, but yeah, maybe we can come back later and fact check that. But anyway,
I mean, if it is, then it's great. And then I know 5 was definitely just a PlayStation exclusive, and that's where they lost a lot of their fan base because like not everybody can afford 2 consoles to play certain games. So then when they reopened it back up, it like gave up that big second breath of the franchise to be like, now we have all of our fans back together fighting and being able to enjoy that core feeling of I'm ready to throw down.
Yeah, and how's the online play with fighting games these days? Like the ping and like the lag and latency.
It's very, very manageable. Like there are very few spots where I feel that I could have blocked that, or I should have blocked that, or I was holding block and I still got hit. So it's definitely that franchise has definitely learned from past mistakes to always just have, let's put the game out, let's see how it goes, and then we'll build on top of that, just like any other company should be doing it.
Oh yeah, pretty
And
good.
then with the story mode, it's just more like I said, it's just it's your character, you play how you want to play, and your character is on like a search of what it means to be strong or power. So it's that good sense of players where it's like, how do I feel like my character should perform or how I should fight in a way like that.
Very good. We'll see if there's any other fighting games on these lists. Moving to my number 4. I know you played this one, JT. This is Hogwarts Legacy. This is a game I was waiting for a long time, going back to the original PlayStation, which is funny enough. I actually dug out my old disc for the original Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on PlayStation 1. And yeah, but this game, this is everything a Harry Potter fan would ever want in a game, honestly. An open world, you get to create your own character, you get to choose your house, you get just the entire grounds of Hogwarts and everywhere north and south, and there's magical creatures, so it combines a lot of stuff we've seen from the Magical Beast series of movies, and it's amazing. There's side quests, there's stealth, you could be a good wizard or a bad wizard, Avacadabra, or saving people. It's just a pretty good story too, with like giving you the backstory, because this game takes place like 100 years or so before the movies, at least. So there's a lot of different kind of themes to this, because there's some characters you might actually even recognize, which is a whole lot of fun. But yeah, this was awesome. You get the 10 different classes, potions class and beast class, and all this cool stuff that, as an RPG, I think it really delivers on being immersive for the player, putting the player in the shoes of a wizard at Hogwarts, and it doesn't like overstay its welcome either. It's like to do everything. It's like a good 40-hour game. I mean, it's always something I wanted, was like a good sized open world Harry Potter game. I'll throw it over to you, JT. I know you played some as we were playing at the same time. And this is how far back it goes. This is the first game of the year. This is how long this year was, how great this year was for gaming, because I almost forgot that this game came out this year.
Yeah, I did play it a bit. Not as huge of a Harry Potter fan as you are, so it doesn't hit me. It's a fun game. I just don't get hit with those same feels that your Harry Potter fans would.
Yeah, Fighter, have you checked this one out?
No, because I think around that time there was another game that I was waiting for, and I can't remember what it was. It might have been Extra Primal, because I know that was a game that I was looking forward to. That was near that same window.
And yeah,
I definitely had friends like our mutual buddy Chris, Tom. He picked it up and he played it. Another buddy of mine, Sandwich, and another friend of ours in Utah. She's a huge Harry Potter fan. I'm talking about like huge.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's neat, because later on this year, after I played the game, I ended up going to London, where they have the studios where they shot the movie, and I went and I visited the sets that they still have up. It's a big tour. It's really cool. If you ever go out to London, check out the Warner Brothers tour. And I was like, wow, this is exactly like the game. Like, I'm looking around saying, they literally nailed the design of the castle. Every like little square foot is modeled directly as it was on the movie set. So they really took their time and did it right. And I think actually this beat out Call of Duty this year as the number one selling game, which is no small feat, because it's like every year a Call of Duty. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well,
but
there's a grenade attached to that title right about now.
I will say I played Hogwarts as well when it first came out. I played it for like 2-3 weeks or so, and then I fell off. And I never touched it. I actually just recently saw all, what is it, 8, 9 Harry Potter
Yeah.
movies for the first time.
Oh.
Um, First time, yeah. So I actually, after seeing that, I wanted more. So I re-downloaded the game, and like you were saying with the little details, that's exactly like the first thing I did as soon as that game loaded
Mhm.
back up. Yes, I've played it. Yes, I'm familiar with the locations and everything. But now that I have the knowledge of the movie, or after seeing all of them, it was exactly like you said, flying around and seeing the locations in the movie and being like, oh, that's where this was and whatnot. Definitely makes the game, it hits you on a different level,
Oh yeah.
and I was able to appreciate that game a lot more this year because of seeing the movies.
Oh yeah. So there's always that good hit of nostalgia or kind of confidence with knowing what it is, and that definitely leads to that. We are getting into our top three. I'm going to throw it over to JT once again. Top three games
All
of
right,
2023.
top three games. As we move into top three, um, I can't believe that it slipped my mind until now, but another honorable mention, and might even take the number 5 spot and bump Lords of the Fallen out of there. But Remnant 2,
Oh yeah.
we cannot finish this video without bringing that game up because it
Absolutely.
is.
Yep.
I'm a sucker for really good Souls-like games, and Remnant 2 is a really good Souls-like game. I mean, you might look at it and say it's a shooter, which it is, but it's a Souls-like. And
I was gonna
even the
dive into it. Don't worry.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
okay.
getting.
and even
Yep.
the
Yep.
I'll let you talk on that more. But my number 3, I'll give that to Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
don't really know how much else there is to say about it. I mean, it's what's better than a D&D campaign with the boys, you know? There's nothing really that much better than doing that. And that's what we're starting to get into now. And it satisfies that itch. Like I love
Hmm.
D&D, but I don't have the attention span for sitting through a dungeon master talking about everything. Um, so Baldur's Gate, just having everything in video game form, it's exactly what I need for it.
Yeah, that is a testament to how good the game is because you guys said you're like an hour in and you're already putting this game that you've only played for an hour above games you've like, you're 4 and 5 and your honorable mentions. This game is already coming in the top three. That really says a lot about the quality, just how this game makes you feel, how engaged you are. I think one thing about that always sets off with me, like, oh, why a game could be so great is even when I'm done playing the game, I'm working or I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I'm thinking about the game. That's when you know the game is good. The game actually has that quality to be like, I want to just be home and play the game. I don't want to keep thinking about the game anymore.
Yeah. But
I have to ask JT, have you had a moment where you you look at Johnny through some type of spatial mirror and just look at him and be like, "Why'd you do something like this?" And you can just feel that Cheshire Cat smile of evilness going across his face.
not quite yet. But just before we got on here, we stumbled upon this group of ne'er do wells arguing with each other. We charisma checked them, they ran off, and then we see this little crack in the ground. We're like, how do we get down there? I found this thing, I shot it down with an arrow, it broke the thing open.
Oh.
And he went and he fell right in. Like, I couldn't figure out how to get in there. I was trying to jump in, like I was trying to jump command, it wouldn't go down there, and I'm like, dude, you're stuck down there. Like, but then we finally managed to get down there, both, and then we died. And
Yep. Wasn't
no.
it a pretty
Loaded.
ending?
loaded.
Oh, so you're the one that put him in the hole.
Well, he fell. He just
Listen, man, Johnny, I
corner
can't,
and just
I got
fell
you.
right
For,
in.
you were at the wrong spot at the wrong time, man.
It really was. It was actually like I clipped through like a corner of the hole or something like that because we were walking around it trying to figure out how to get in it, and it wasn't letting you in the hole. And then all of a sudden, my guy just like fell in right at like a small little corner. Um, so yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen, but it definitely made it more eventful. That's for sure.
All right.
That's part of the fun, right? A game like that, you don't get a lot of experiences of co-op games these days, to the degree of Baldur's Gate 3, where it's like literally your journey depends on the other person. Whatever their decisions are, whatever their actions may take, it's all on them, and you just kind of go with it. It's like, all right, I guess we're gonna go in this direction then, because this is what you did. You got us into this mess. So I can imagine, like you said, JT, about like that. What's better than just like a D&D night? Like I can see that translating really well to this game.
Yeah,
All
it does.
All right, number 3, Johnny.
Well, like JT said, couldn't get much further without mentioning it. It is my number 3,
Ah.
Remnant 2. Really enjoyed the first one. It was unique. It's different. It follows the Souls-like formula, but it puts a twist on it with the guns, which makes the combat stand out a little differently. Um, Remnant 2's everything Remnant was, except just better. The worlds, the environment is just a lot prettier. The darker gothic world that they have is really feels like it really feels what Bloodborne looks like. I have not played it personally, but the atmosphere is great. The boss fights are exhilarating. You know, playing it co-op with JT is always fun. Having a second person. They did a really good job with it. I know the reviews are pretty good pretty high for the game. You know, me personally, I don't see a lot of friends playing it. I don't hear a lot of like personal friends talking about it. But I do know it's getting the recognition because it definitely deserves to be talked about and played. And I believe it is on the Game Pass. I don't know if we mentioned this before, but it is on the Game Pass now, and they re-added the first Remnant as well.
Okay.
You don't need to play the first one to play the second one, but it does seem like the second one somewhat takes place shortly after the first one ends. I never finished the first one again, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, is there any other games in that genre that use ranged weapons, like a shooter game in that like Dark Souls-y feel?
I don't believe so.
Not that I can think of, which is surprising.
That is so neat. I've not really seen a lot of this game, but it's got me intrigued to be like, oh, maybe I could get into a game like this because it's ranged versus melee.
The stepping stone, if anything.
Yeah, and a lot of the worlds and the dungeons also have a sort of a procedurally generated aspect to them. Like the entire map can be flipped, things can be moved around. So there's definitely an element of you know, there's
Is it like
RNG involved.
Is it like roguelike?
You know?
Or I that's not really roguelike. Yeah, RNG more like procedural generated levels.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Definitely rogue light influences, but not fully a roguelite. You know?
All right,
Even on top of, it was just like a little extra bonus. The first game that gave way to Remnant is actually called Cronus. Cronus was it's a precursor to the Remnant series.
Oh,
They actually talk about some of the enemies that were from Cronus in this newest one.
Interesting.
Is that Cronus with an H?
CH, I believe. I could be wrong. At least it looked very, very similar, and the way that it was told was similar to how I felt it was Remnant.
so I'm assuming you played Remnant 2 then, Fighter.
Oh yeah, it was actually going to be one of my either my top 1 or top 2, but since we got it here, I might as well just slot that in with with a different game. But no, I definitely enjoyed Remnant as a series as a whole. Like, I have my little group of friends, and I remember getting the mod that gives when you have it fully charged, you get to shoot a pyro tornado. And this thing, if you get close to it, will kill you, and it will. And there's friendly fire, by the way. And one of my friends accidentally shot the doorway that we were near, and then also you just hear oh, and we're like, oh, what's oh? Next thing you know, team wipe, and we're like, what made you think it was a good idea to have your mod active at that exact moment? So it's Remnant builds that memory where it's like you're having a good run, you're having some fun with your friends, and then next thing you know, it just ends just like that because somebody wasn't paying attention, or the boss just gunned one of your friends down or focused them hard. Like JT and Johnny, that you might be able to agree with this. Venom, when he was he gunned for one of my buddies hardcore. I think he was like one of the second to final bosses in the end world.
Oh, we
I don't
haven't
believe
gotten
we're
to
that
the end
far yet,
world
no.
yet. We're
Have
getting
fun with
there.
him. Have fun.
Actually, the boss that gave us the most trouble was a bunch of cubes in a maze.
Yes. Oh my god. And the worst part is like you're looking around and you think you have more time. Next thing you know, you get squashed by a cube.
Yep.
Exactly our issue. Yep.
That sounds so bizarre. Getting crushed by
It's
a
like playing a
cube in
giant
maze.
cat and mouse game, and you're the ghost, and the block is Pac-Man.
Oh man.
Waka splat.
Well, I'm gonna switch gears from a Dark Souls game to another RPG. I guess that's a comment on my list. So I'm gonna have like 3 RPGs, and I'm looking at it by the end of it. And that is another Bethesda game we've been waiting for, Starfield. Man, oh man, I played so much of this game on my Xbox 2023 wrap up, whatever they call it. I put the most hours into that game, 100 and something hours into that game easily. I've not even feel like I've scraped like the top of the iceberg on this one because there's so much content. Yeah, the story of the main campaign, it's not the greatest. Otherwise, it probably would have been my number 1 or 2. But just the wide breadth of the content that's on offer here. I'm not a huge fan of Fallout. I'm a very big fan of the Elder Scrolls games, and this game is sitting with me kind of like the Elder Scrolls games in a way because I'm really getting a lot of that character choice, the character freedom, getting to just create your ship, modify your ship however you want to, and just go anywhere in space. You can have crazy side missions that I could talk about for days, like, you know, running across some old grandmother that's lonely and wants you to come and have cookies with her and listen to a couple stories, or getting framed and end up working as a double agent for one of these pirate organizations. And there's just so many like emergent gameplay things that happen just randomly that are just so fun. And it's just goes to show you like there's this felt more next gen for me because of the just scope of the game, just how big the solar system is. Wherever you can go to a planet and you can survey the planet, and it'll take you like hours to just walk around this planet. And the combat's good. I will say the combat for a Bethesda game, shooting wise, is pretty snappy. I'm playing it on PC, and it's a great feeling game. But overall, yeah, this is my number 3. Really enjoyed this one. Anybody else have something to say about Starfield?
There's a lot of drama surrounding Starfield right now. It's not exactly on my list. It's certainly not the next Skyrim for me, or the next Fallout New Vegas for me. But I think it has potential to get there. Maybe a couple more years and letting the modding community get their hands in there, and
Yeah, that
maybe
is the thing.
maybe a couple quality of life updates, and I think it might be there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that were nagging issues, like the inventory space system, where you get bogged down if you have too much, and you have all this extra stuff you're looting, and you're putting in your cargo hold, and then your ship is like all it can get like kind of annoying. Oh yeah, there's no maps on the surface of a town, so you don't know where the vendors are. Like stuff you would expect from a game in 2023. aren't there, and that's even after a year delay of this game. So I do see the criticism why this game has the ratings it currently does. I feel like for most people, they either love this game or they hate this game. I fall into the first category there. I really like this game. I feel like you said, JT, there's a lot of room for improvement. I think it will get better as we go on. There's an expansion coming out, or DLC at least that I got because I pre-ordered the game. Eventually, that'll be out. And the one thing I really liked is the context of how they do New Game Plus mode. I think it's very inventive. They weaved it into the narrative of the story, so it makes sense, and it's really fun just having the ability to just keep re-rolling your character essentially and trying something new. Right? Like my first playthrough, I was a goody two shoes. I was not screwing with anybody. I was doing things by the book. And now the second playthrough, I've even gone through and tweaked my character's like likeness appearance. So it's like, oh, it kind of looks like my first character, but something's a little off. And then I made them just be like a killer and just going around working with these Crimson Fleet pirates, just taking over the galaxy. And then I'll do a third playthrough where I'll work for like the government as somebody. Or so it's fun to role play in this universe. They give you a lot of tools for that, which I really appreciate.
I gotta say, the one thing that stopped me, and I do gotta jump back into it, because I did have fun doing the bounty hunting missions, like you said, just flying across space, the space battles, boarding other ships,
Yeah.
and fighting them, and then blowing them up, it was very unique, awesome. The thing that killed it for me was once I found out you unlock certain abilities later on. Yeah, that kind of not what I was looking for in that kind of game. That kind of like killed my ambition to
Yeah.
continue with the story. Like I said, I do want to jump back into at least 2 side missions and have fun with that. But that was something that was just that reason alone is why it's not on my top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it tries to make itself unique, and in some regards, they've kind of gone back to the well with another franchise that they've worked on, and it kind of feels very samey. So, yeah, totally get that. Totally get that. We are on to our number 2. Number 2. Here we go. JT, what's your number 2?
All right. My runner-up is I'm giving it to Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
Now, it's only gotten one playthrough out of me so far, unlike Fallen Order, which I've already stated I've completed many times on the hardest difficulty. I love that game. I also love Survivor for different reasons. I think Survivor, and this is going to be a hot take, Survivor is one of the best sequels, period. It handles the continuation of a character from one game to the next game better than most other games I've played. Even as great as Spider-Man 2 is, I'd even say it's better than that. It's just most sequels, when you're dealing with the same character from one game to the next, they always work in something that's like this MacGuffin that's like, hey, you lost all of your gear, all of your cool abilities, everything that you could do at the end of the last game, you're now starting from square one. Survivor, on the other hand, takes that trope, that typical sequel, this is always what you do trope, throws it out the window. You basically have, at the very beginning of the game, all of the same traversal abilities as the first game. You keep your lightsaber stances. There's some narrative through the tutorial mission to get you there, but you keep the single blade, you keep the double blade, and you even get to a point where the split saber becomes a full-on stance and
Yep.
not just a special move, right? So right out of the gate, for a beginning of the game, for a sequel, you're already starting off way more fun and engaging than other ones. I gotta put it on top, like, God of War Ragnarok is a 2022 game. It came out close to the end of 2022, but I'm gonna put it even on top of that one.
Wow.
Going from God of War 2018 to God of War Ragnarok has to be the most, and I love the original God of Wars, and I
hmm
loved 2018. It has to be the slowest and most dull gameplay experience I've ever had, jumping from 2018 to Ragnarok. Like, it just, I was like, all right, well, Ragnarok came out. I've got to finish this before I play it. And I finished it, and I went right into it, and just wall. It just stops you. And
Damn.
I'm just like, I couldn't do it. I still got to go back and play it, but yeah, that's why I'm calling Jedi Survivor one of the best sequel video games
Yeah. Yeah, I
to date.
totally agree with the whole sentiment of a lot of games like handcuffed you in the beginning. It's like, wait, I had these powers. No, like you're getting your double jump right off the bat. You're getting your abilities with your single and your double. And just the character story itself, like there's been some time that has passed. There's been about 5 years, and I like
Yeah,
how Star Wars, a good Star Wars story, always brings you right into the middle of the fight, whether it be A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. They're in the middle of like get rescuing Han. Like they always jump you like right into the middle of the conflict, and here you are on Coruscant, the underbelly, which happens to be one of my favorite locations in all of Star Wars. Is like level 13 and all those cool criminal hives, right? And you're dealing with this Powan guy that's this politician that's corrupt, and it's just this really cinematic experience. And just when you think you get to know these people, half of them are dead, and there's just so much going on in those first few moments. But yeah, I echo
and then
everything you say.
the gradual shift. You think it's going to be, you
hmm
think it's going to be a normal Rebels versus Empire storyline, and then
Yep.
it just flips that on his head, and you're getting High Republic lore,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's great.
It is. It is. You go to 5 planets in the game, but it feels a lot more because there's so much dense information. There's so much with the droids and all. I have more to say, but I've alluded to it already. I'm going to be talking about this game in a little bit, but I'm going to throw it over to Johnny for his second pick, his runner-up.
My second pick is gonna be Dead Island 2.
Hmm.
I had a lot of fun with that game. I maxed that out. When that game came out, that was the only thing I played. I could not put that down. The gore system that they have in that game, where the different types of weapons and how the bodies, the zombies deteriorate depending on if it's a blunt weapon or if it's a sharp
Whoa.
object, the different effects you can have on the weapons with like acid or fire and stuff like that, and how it reacts. Again, watching the bodies just crumble apart, it's very satisfying. It's exactly what I'm looking for in a zombie kind of game like that. They have the special zombies that they add in there, but it doesn't feel like they're over the top or too extreme. They have this one, I forget the name of it now. It's like a hunting kind of creature that's fast and it jumps around. So it gives like a real
Okay.
suspense when you're in when you're in the hunting grounds of one of those. You're like always looking over your shoulder,
Mhm.
making sure one of them is not following you. Now they did just come out with the DLC. I haven't
Oh.
tried it yet. I've been meaning to re-download it to try it out. I think it's a House of Haas or something like that. I haven't played it yet. I haven't really read much about it. Seems to be like it's a short DLC, but the content seems to be in it. Seems to be good. Like I said, that was just everything I was looking for in a zombie game. I had fun with it. It is co-op. I've dabbled a little bit with the co-op. It's okay. it was all right. A little laggy. I played it when it first came out again, so maybe they've fixed it by now. But overall, it was definitely one I enjoyed. Definitely one of the better zombie games. They definitely improved big time from Dead Island 1.
Yeah, it's funny because they call the game Dead Island 2, but I believe it's in LA and there's no island, right? If I'm not.
You are correct. They actually the landscape though they call is Hell A. So the little play on words there. It is in LA. You go to all different famous
Oh my gosh.
locations. You
Oh,
go to the
okay.
beach. You're on the
Oh,
Hollywood Boulevard.
wow.
You start off in like mansion kind of
Cool.
area. They did a really good job with the atmosphere, the lighting, and everything like that. They have a day-night cycle in the game. At night, you got your flashlight. You're going down the streets.
Ooh.
There's there's fires from
Oh.
cars. You're trying to find zombies. You can hear them, but you can't see them. It's a good game. They did a really good job with it. I'm happy because
Yeah.
you could see the potential with the first Dead Island, but there's just something they missed there that wasn't
Yeah.
right. Dead Island 2, they hit it. They hit that nail on the head.
I'm really happy that they delivered because this game was that game that was kind of like in that hell development cycle where it just kept getting pushed. It kept getting pushed. It kept getting pushed. And I was like, when a game gets pushed and delayed this much, I feel like the studio eventually just puts it out and it's just not even any good at that point. So I'm really like pleasantly surprised when I started seeing the reviews for it. I'm like, oh, this game is actually pretty good. And I think this came out right around Jedi Survivor, and I said, oh, this game's DOA. This game's coming out on top of like one of the biggest Star Wars games in years. It's so dead. Like people are gonna save their money for Star Wars, and there was a big enough community backing this game. And then the reviews came out, and it seems like they did a pretty good job with their sales, and the critical response is good. So I'm happy because I played the first game and I only played like 5 minutes. I don't know. Something like you said, something was off about it. I just like, I don't want to spend time playing. There's something's off about this game. Maybe it
First
needed more
one's
time
like
to cook.
laggy.
Yeah,
The delay,
exactly.
input delay is what it
Hmm.
feels like at times. Yeah.
And the first game also absolutely falls apart as soon as you leave the resort.
Now, are there like human characters you fight against, or is it just strictly zombies?
It is just zombies. With the DLCs, I don't know if they plan to add humans. I didn't read into that at all. I kind of hope that they don't, though, really. I like just focusing on zombies and the different ways of just being able to take them down, take them apart. That's what I like Dead Island for, is their gore. So if they can just continue to work on that rather than add in new things, new enemies
Yeah.
and stuff, just add new weapons and stuff, different ways. The takedowns, the special takedowns with each weapon, it just feels more and more brutal with each weapon.
And a game that is very much in the same space as Dying Light 2. What is the difference
Yes.
between Dead Island 2 and Dying Light 2? Maybe Fighter, you can answer this question too.
So I was just thinking about that as Johnny was talking about the human aspect. I think the difference with Dying Light and Dead Island is that where, like you said, Dead Island is just about surviving that zombie apocalypse, being able to just go in there, whack a zombie's face off, and then next thing you know, you just see his top of his jaw dangling. Whereas Dying Light adds that the city has evolved, has been built up to survive that ground level where zombies stay. We stay above the city skylines and stuff. And the way to traverse is that parkour, that run, and stuff like that. But at the same time, as you get higher up in the air, the less of the threat of the zombies are. But then you have the threat of that human factor. People
Oh.
still want to survive for themselves, or they believe they do the right thing. Like in Dying Light, you have the faction that just still believes in the justice system, and they're just all about taking people down, whether you're a murderer or they just want you to protect. But the problem is that if you want their protection, you have to join their cause. Like that's the only way that they're going to protect you. Is if they protect you, you join their cause. The other one is just pure chaos. Like they just want the world to burn. They just like to see everything go destroyed. So with Dying Light and Dead Island, I think it's just two different spectrums of how to deal with the zombie apocalypse. Dead Island, you have your zombies and just surviving. The Dying Light, you have to worry about zombies and that human factor of I want to survive.
All right. Very well said. And by the way, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is probably a niche game. It is Armored Core 6.
Oh.
At first, when I was playing Armored Core, I wasn't aware that FromSoft was the people that also made that. So when I heard that, I was
Yeah.
like, huh? What? And they're like, yeah, no, they made all the other ones. I was like, cool.
Oh.
They're like, yeah, you think that, but it's also going to be hard at the same time. and it was at first, but then once you start getting into that build graphic, knowing what parts, knowing where you wanted to go, what lane, it became a lot easier to understand how the levels were going to work. And their new game plus system is also like really fun. So you beat the game the first time, you keep everything that you have, right? But the difference is now there's also other missions that can pop up to give you different endings. And that is the only way that you'll be able to get a different ending is if you beat the game the first time, you beat the game the second time. It's like, all right, now here's this. Try to get the true ending. And let me tell you, boss fights are where it's at to test your build. Like you can get through these stages with no problems. Beating NPCs, little bots here and there. A boss comes in, and it is a dark. Like you can see the Dark Souls. I'm here. Try to stop me.
Wow.
Like there was a boss that they had to nerf in the beginning of the game because a lot of people just struggled with him.
Oh my gosh.
And JT's shaking his head. He knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, the boss at the end
Balteus
of
was
Act
just
1.
missile launching son of a gun who's just like, I have 60 different rockets. Try to dodge them. I'm sorry.
I don't think I had got to him, but yeah, the boss right at the end of Act 1. Act 1 was the wall for most people.
Yeah, and then it's like after you got through him, every other boss kind of felt almost a little bit of a cakewalk, but at the same time, they just got faster. So not only did you have your tank bosses and your DPS boss checkers, but near the end of the game, I had to build a speedcraft armor core. Like I had to be fast enough to try to dodge and close the gap. And then when you get into like the online portion, it's nuts to see how some of these people build these things. Like I've seen people on videos from PlayStation built Gundams based off of their armor cores. And I'm like, how do people come up with this idea? I even had a buddy who helped me, and he went even further in depth with certain parts. Like certain parts were specialized with melees or weapons or lasers or missiles or tracking. So there's just a lot. You can see that whole farm software spectrum of here's a build, have fun, try to do the best you can.
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
And the endings just felt great to achieve too. Like when you got to that end game boss and you beat that game, you're like, yes, I did it. It was like, woo! Can't wait to do it again on a third attempt.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think that the studio that brought us Elden Ring, with all the accolades and the glory that From Software was getting from that, and then it's like people are like, did a double take, like, huh? They're making a mech game? And like you said, Fighter, it's like, yeah, they've been doing this the whole time. Didn't you guys ever see this? No, their claim to fame is all with the Dark Souls games, but that's what they started on, or at least part of their work was on them. But yeah, the only experience I have with any of this is Mech Assault on the Xbox, and I'm pretty sure these are completely different kind of games.
Different animals, my friend. Different animals.
Okay.
And like even with like just the file story, like the character designs, the name of the other pilots that you get to meet and talk and try to build up a strategy. There's so much story that goes into these games that you just have to keep playing it to find out all the other stories of why this is all happening. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with DLCs because they just put in an update for ranked multiplayer. And now you can do team ranked or solo rank. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they do co-op missions or like a couple of my other buddies said, like the older AC games had raid missions where it was you and 3 other pilots go in and you take on this raid style boss.
That sounds fun. Yeah, it's like for that game, it seems like most of it is more single player focused, but like multiplayer is more like an additional thing, or
yeah, just like with any other game, it's like you want to. Armored Core is about that single player spectrum, but you do have that fan base where it's like I want to see how well my build pairs off against other people, or like even like modders have already attempted on doing co-op style where they try to buff up the boss health and everything else. My problem is that sometimes they can crash because obviously the game's not meant to handle 3 people beating up on one boss.
That's a lot of effects, a lot of lasers,
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of explosions all being rendered at once. Yeah.
and it's so cool to watch it all go off. Ah,
Speaking of a lot of things being rendered on a screen at once, I gotta give my number 2 to Diablo 4. I have never been a huge Diablo fan. I've been a huge Blizzard fan, namely with World of Warcraft over the years, but I've dabbled in Diablo 3, and Diablo 4 just seemed like this is the one I want to get into because it's more open world. You're seeing other players in the world around you. I happen to play through both beta weekends. I had to go to Trenton, which is not a place you really want to go to if you don't have to go to the closest KFC to get me this crazy like mutated chicken sandwich gargantuan thing to get a code to play the beta. I went through it all to get to play this game, and it only got better over time. I played with you guys, JT and Johnny Fighter. I still have yet to play with you on there, but it is everything I wanted. Yeah, it is everything I wanted. I mean, it's got the story. The story is way better than 3. I haven't played 1 or 2, but I really enjoyed the story with Lilith and how your character is, responding to that threat. And then the idea of just the fun build. You were talking a lot, Fighter, about builds in Armored Core 6, and the same could be said with Diablo. The loot is there. The loot grind is so there. Like, if you want a loot grind game, this is the one because you're constantly getting fed, at least with Season 2. This is a live service game, so there's a lot of things that change over time. But, like, they have it on lock right now where you're constantly feeling rewarded going and just killing things and having fun with friends. I'm playing as like a necromancer right now, but then I started off as a rogue, and then I went to the sorcerer. So there's a lot of fun to be had there, a lot of creativity. The talent system is great, loot system is great. The game performs so smooth. I'm playing on PC. It's just butter smooth. It's just great time to slaughter things. I like the open world, the world events that happen emergently, the world bosses that happen. The dungeons, the progression is so fun with Nightmare Dungeons, going through, getting leveled up with your glyphs, and just getting the best rolls. Yeah, I mean, looting, it could be improved a little bit more as far as like how the builds are concerned with your affixes and stuff on your gear. The developer said they are working on that. And that's the other thing that really cements this as my number 2, is the idea that the developers are constantly improving the game. Season 1 was a bit of a misstep. Season 2, they've gone back. They've changed a lot of things, and it's a lot easier to level up now. All this good stuff because of player feedback. So to see a studio take a step back, absorb this information, and change things appropriately, I got to give it to Diablo 4 as my number 2. And I know that Johnny definitely has stuff to say about this one. So,
well, I do too because I disagree where it's placed. At least for me, it was.
Say that again.
No, I would put, so obviously we're getting ready to do our number 1s and all this and that. I think for me at least, Diablo is my number 1 for this year, just because you're saying it's got that feeling of, I see you running around, I see Johnny, JT, everybody, all these other players are just being able to gather in and say, let's do this public event right here. Cool, let's do it. Hey, I need help with this dungeon. I got you. So it's just, I feel like for me, at least for this year, having that access to play with a lot of other people from other parts of the world, other consoles, just made that game a lot more enjoyable. And like you said, there's just so many more improvements. Like I said, obviously, at least for me, I put this at the top of my list, but we'll come back to that.
Well, no, you can stay on it now. I mean, you spoiled it. You might as well take the lead on the first one for Game of the Year for you at least.
Alright, I swiped it. I played the Uno reverse card. Normally it's JT, now it's my turn.
I think we're going to be staying on the topic of Diablo 4 going forward. Spoiler alert. So by all means, continue talking.
Sorry, Chris. You're 3 against 1, brother. But no, but like going on with it, like when you're saying with the Wooten system, just a couple weeks ago, I got my first Uber unique to drop, which was the grandfather.
Oh,
And I see everybody's head nodding. And I'm like, apparently this is a really good one.
yeah.
But keep in mind, I haven't gotten an Uber. This is my very first Uber unique. And I understand that like these things are supposed to be rare to drop, but I've seen other players get like 5, 6, 8. I'm like, where's mine? So and like, I'm not saying like they should be dropping so much more, but there's also no way to tell that it's a Uber unique unless you go and look through the forums in the community. So I would like to see them do something with that where it's like maybe a different color in the letters, or maybe it has Uber on it.
You basically have to know exactly what the stats are to know if it's uber unique. Like, you have to turn on your tooltips and be like, oh, it ranges from 25% to 50%. If it's 50% on this and it's 50% on it, then it's an uber unique. It's like, it shouldn't be all that work to figure that out.
Right. Like, I feel like there should be something in-game that lets you know, like, hey, this is an uber unique. But even then, like how you're saying, you're jumping from class to class. This past season 2, I started on a druid. Wasn't really enjoying the druid as much as I thought. I jumped to a sorceress. Guess what? Got to a level 70 sorceress. And then I find out there's an XP event where you were getting ridiculous amount of XP going on for like, I think it was like the weekend or the week.
It was all week.
I got a barbarian up to the same point within 3 days of the event. And I just now got to level 100 barbarian now.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Hammers. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, we got the
hammers.
Hammer of Ancients. Yeah, right.
Right. But then it's like you go and you look at some of these other players and all these other styles of game or builds. You got rogues doing massive AoEs. You got fireball sorcerers. You got a druid smacking everybody with a bear claw.
You got necromancers throwing bone spears at people.
Bone spears. So like the game in itself, and as it is now, and it's like from where it was base, it's grown. It has truly grown. I will say that. But there's still a lot of improvements that I would like to see. One of them being like a minion or a pet to run around collecting gold materials and stuff like that. I can't tell you how many times I've just ignored stuff because I'm like, oh my god, I have too much stuff of this.
Yeah.
And a minion and a pet would just easily just go around and collect and bring it to you. That's all I'm saying. That's my hot take on that.
I did see a leak that they are going to put some kind of companion into the game. I think maybe Johnny or JT sent it in our group chat or something at one point, or maybe I found it and sent it, but that does seem like something that might happen. I don't know if they're going to be like, you know, like a mule for you with their gear or something. But
I've had people who said like they would just gladly pay $5 just to get a different minion or a different looking thing. But there's still, like I said, there's just a lot of other quality of updates, life equality. Bah. You see what you do to me? A lot of quality of life updates that could be expanded on or be implemented.
all right. So I'm going to throw this one over to JT. What's your number one?
My number one is, take a guess, Diablo 4.
Oh, man. I feel like I should have switched my 2 and 1 now. Just to
Join us.
This is coming from someone with very limited Diablo experience. Never played the first one, never played the second one. I tried multiple times to get into Diablo 3, and I just couldn't. But this one, it hit the right way. I mean, it's my second most played game of the whole year. Like, I didn't get any characters as high as you guys have them. No one even close to level 100. But I mean, an eternal character up to end game levels, and I got a rogue in season 1 up to 60 something.
Nice.
So haven't touched season 2 at this point. I probably won't until season 3, but just because other things came out.
Yeah.
But definitely, as someone pretty new to the series, for it to accumulate that much time on the game, and have it be my second most played game of the year, absolutely.
Yeah. I think I believe, and this is why I don't know this. I played this on PC. I couldn't find a way to track my gameplay time, but I have to have put in at least 200 hours with this game this year because just in the last month or so, I couldn't put it down. I'd be playing it before work. I'd be playing it as I got home. It's again that game that I think about when I'm not actually playing it, right? It's that thing of I need to get back and play more Diablo. I have to level up. I have to get to super unique. I have to try to take down this boss at the end or do this abattoir of Zero, which I got owned by doing, by the way. I'm not good enough yet for that, but got a couple weeks. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have you in a party with me, fighter, and you can just run me through the damn thing because I don't know what's going on with my build. I'm gonna have to look at that. But that's the fun part, right? Is like there's so many ways of going about it with this game. You can look up all guides online. You can just homebrew stuff on your own, figure it out if you're good with knowing all the damage and all that good stuff. So really good stuff there. Johnny, I feel like I already know this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. What's your number one?
My number one is surprise, surprise, Diablo 4. I'm a fan. I'm a longtime fan of the franchise. One of the earliest games I played was Diablo on the PC. I mean, I remember being a little kid, watching my dad play it on the computer, finally being able to play it myself. I played the crap out of the first one. Played the second one. I know it's praised as the best one in the franchise. It is probably my least favorite one. So some heads will probably roll for me saying that. I really enjoyed 3 as well. 3 was very different. 3 is very arcadey. So that's why it's so, like JT had such a hard time getting into it, is because it is night and day difference between the gameplay, how you're playing, how you're fighting, how you're doing everything, because you're trying to get all those added bonuses, the damage bonus, the movement bonuses, and whatnot. The one thing I will say that they did right with 3, granted, 3, it took a very long time once it came out for it to finally get good. I want to say it was like 6 or 7 years. Might have even been a little bit longer.
Wow.
Before it was good. I like how many enemies are on screen at once. Diablo 4 seems to struggle a little bit with that still. I want to be able to walk into a room and with my Hammer of Ancients just annihilate and crush, 20 enemies with each swing, I want to see mounds of gold. I want to see piles of loot. That's something that the previous titles have done well. I feel like Diablo 4 struggles just a little bit. You guys talk about the loot grind and everything like that, and it is there. The frustrating thing about it is I'm like a level 60 something, and I've seen it since the launch that it's a lot. I get a lot of crap loot, loot for levels like 20 levels lower, something I'm never gonna use, a lot of it. So I just wish they would change that up a little bit so at least the loot becomes, it feels like, should I even really circle back and pick up that item back there? Is it really worth that 5-second turnaround? Because it's probably going to be 15 levels below me. The other thing is stats. That's something they've had in other titles they don't have in this yet. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they're going to bring it in. If they don't, that would be really weird. It might not be in season 3, but I have faith eventually they will implement that into the game. It is something I wish it was added right from the get-go. Because again, they've worked with it in 3. It's not something that's new. The story, you know, I skipped through the story. I don't really care for Diablo stories. Honestly, the only one I ever cared for was the first original Diablo, so I just skipped through that. I'm really all about the gameplay, you know, killing as many enemies as fast as possible, the different classes. I mean, we can beat this dead horse all night long, you know, everything you guys said is spot on. The unique builds, how you can just tweak a few things and suddenly your character just changed dramatically. You know, the different weapons and how you can really party up with so many different players and how their playstyles can affect the overall thing. The world bosses, world events, the tree, what is it? The Tree of Whispers
Yeah.
keeps things interesting. You know, do I feel like doing a dungeon tonight, or do I just want to bang out a few like bounty hunting missions or whatever it is? Speaking of bounty hunting missions, season 2 has been awesome. What I've played with the vampires, the whole town that they've got going on,
Oh,
the
yeah,
bounty
yeah.
hunting board. The hourly event, I forget what they call it now, but that's where I'm usually spending my time, is in there just slaughtering all those guys. It's been a lot of fun. They're getting
The blood
the
harvest.
game's getting better. I haven't been following player count or anything like that, but like Fighter said, I'm sure, and I believe it, you know, I'm sure the player's going to be coming back and it's going to be growing because it's definitely getting better. Definitely
yeah.
easily my number 1 for this year.
Well said, well said. And finally, Jedi Survivor is my number 1. Jedi Survivor, absolutely love the story. Like JT was saying, I don't think there's a better sequel out there that I can, really look to as like a sequel has to do everything the first game did, but better. And it's essentially what this does. There's an emotionally poignant story that really grabbed me and hooked me and like drop kicked me to the ground and just like like no mercy. Like there's a killer ending of this game and it's so well done. And we look at all the Star Wars games of the past, especially like games like KOTOR is like the first game I think of off the top of my head. It's like this game rivals KOTOR in the finesse and the power of the story itself. The lightsaber combat, oh my gosh, it's so fun. They just when you think they can't do anything different with this game, they add 2 more, a blaster stance, they have a cross guard lightsaber stance, and they all feel so unique, so fun. It's just everything you do in this game is just one step better than the previous game. All the droids now, having droid separatist droids that are reactivated, droid dekas, magna guards, commando droids, so much fun stuff. Super battle droids. It just goes on. And then you have companions now at a certain point, like Bodakuna or Marin. They're side by side with you at certain points. That adds a whole nother element of, oh yeah, we're having this AI ally helping you along the way. And the spectacles and the visuals. And it's the first Jedi game that's only for the next gen systems, although I think they are retroactively making it for Xbox One and PS4, which at this point, what's the point? The systems are long done with. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but you definitely feel the power of this being a next gen game as well, as far as, okay, this is the breadth of the scope of the game of going to Kobo, going to Coruscant, seeing all the neon, seeing the atmospheric effects of the fog, all that good stuff. But yeah, that is gonna do it. We got all 3 of you guys chose Diablo. I chose it as my number 2. Jedi Survivor is my number 1. If we're gonna look at the check sheet here, Diablo 4 would be the basically the game of the year winner between all 4 of us. If we were calculating all these average scores and all, be Diablo 4, which it's pretty awesome. I think it's crazy that nobody mentioned Spider-Man 2. I put that on the thumbnail thinking somebody was going to at least mention Spider-Man 2, so I'm very surprised by that, JT.
I mean, it came up
I
in
brought it-
passing.
I brought it up, but I have my rules about Game of the Year. I have my rules, and I like to stick to them.
I got an honorable mention that wasn't brought up tonight.
That is right.
Yeah.
That is right.
Honorable mention. It got quite a few verbal laughters from me while playing. Goat Simulator 3. What a great game that has been. It is just stupid, goofy fun. You know, it's nothing serious. I don't know. Are you familiar with the game at all?
Little bit, right? It's just, is it like
So
you
Goat
control
Simulator
yeah.
3 is the sequel to Goat Simulator. There is no 2. So
Oh.
that in of itself is just, I
What?
find hilarious. They're just playing with the name. It's just a big joke. The game starts off with the Skyrim intro, but with goats instead. Like, oh, you're finally awake, and you're on like the back of a tractor with a bunch of other goats
Oh my
talking to you.
gosh.
It's just stupid humor like that, It's not a game I can sit down, like you were saying with Diablo, constantly thinking about it, but it is something that's fun for like 20 minutes. It's on Game Pass, definitely worth the 10 gigs or whatever it is. Definitely worth checking it out.
Yeah. And I think you put this out there earlier, Johnny, in the chat. Disappointments of 2023. I guess we're leaving it on a bad note. We should have started with this first, but disappointments if we have any.
I mean, if we're looking at disappointments, we can go to what we're looking towards next year. After we're done with this.
Yeah,
Well, there
that's
are
a great
great
way to
games
bring it
that came out this year that I was really looking forward to. And I played them, and it was just really disappointing. I don't know. Did you guys make a list for that at all? Do you have any off the top of your head you can think of?
Yeah, I will say probably Redfall. That was a game that was going to be this amazing game by Arcane, and it was like, oh yeah, we're getting a vampire slaying game. Granted, I haven't really put much more than an hour in, but I could already see how it was not that great because it's just a lot of glitches and weird things. AI kind of sucks. So yeah.
Yeah, Redfall's on that list for me too. I put an hour in about when the game came out and then stopped. They recently came out with like a big update where they like changed the enemies, added more enemies and stuff, and I forced myself to put another 2 hours in, and it's just not clicking.
Okay.
It's dead, it's done. That was really disappointing because it was a different, fighting vampires and taking them down the way you had to with spiked weapons. It was cool. It was unique. So it is a shame that flopped. Another one, Atomic Heart.
Oh yeah.
That was something a lot of people talked about when it was coming out or getting ready to come out. I mean, I know with Russia, everything that was happening in the world, that definitely had an impact when it came out, being as a Russian-made game and everything. But, it's supposed to be like a spiritual successor or whatever to BioShock, very similar to that. Just didn't click with me, I'm a big fan of BioShock, and that was just a game I just played a couple of hours and then just never had the desire to continue with it. The combat kind of felt really repetitive with the melee fighting, and the story just wasn't captivating, No characters stood out that really connected with me. And I mean, it's been a while since I've played it, but I recall the character you play as talked a lot. It was just a lot of really stupid sayings he would say while you're playing the game. It just got annoying hearing him.
Another one I'll mention is the GoldenEye reboot or remaster, which
disappointment.
It was literally just a carbon copy.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, I wasn't expecting much of it, but we're able to play GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I mean, it stinks it's not online unless you're playing on the Switch.
It's like,
it's just
why is it online on the Switch and not online on Xbox? That makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
try
real
to make
big
sense
reason
of it.
is the
I can't,
multiplayer.
but GoldenEye is one of the best 007. So I mean.
Yeah, for Halo to come, we had to have GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, right? So.
Yep. Another really disappointing game for me. I'm a huge fan of the series. Payday 3.
Really?
That was a huge letdown. I refunded my $100 pre-order for the game. Oh, I am so disappointed in that game. I loved 2. I loved 1. I mean, I pirated that game when it first came out, playing it on the PC. Number 2 came out, like, I believe right after high school, after I graduated, so just playing the crap out of that. Payday 3 is just, I don't know what happened. Everything about that game is just backwards. backwards. They took so many steps back.
Hmm.
The gunplay is nice, the movement feels better than 2. They did improve with that, but the way the AI works is not. It's not who tested the game. You can walk right past them; they don't spot you. You can clearly tell they're bugged out. The missions are very short. It gets repetitive quickly. The leveling up system, you can finish a mission and not get any XP because you have to play the mission certain ways. You have to complete challenges in order to get XP. If you don't complete any challenges in a heist, guess what? No XP, you don't level up. So that hour heist was now pointless to a certain degree. It's just things like that. I'd like to think that they're going to work on it and it's going to get better, but it also took them 2 months to come out with a day 1 patch.
Ay.
Yeah, with the track record like that, it's not a good start. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a little bit since I read anything about it, but last I heard, and I can still believe if it's true, Payday 2 has more players than Payday 3.
I believe
Yikes.
Yeah. Not something you want to see with a new game coming out like that.
Hey fighter, you might not like what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna have to put it out there. Destiny Lightfall.
Hold on, I gotta walk that one off. That one hurt.
Which one?
Lightfall.
The latest
Destiny
expansion. It's okay. I'm just mainly looking at the story. The story was just very nebulous, and they're talking about this thing that they don't even explain what the thing is, and it's like the downfall of this whole story, and it's like, but they don't actually take the time to explain it. It just seems like kind of rushed or something. There's cool things in the expansion itself, mechanic-wise, like having the strand abilities, but I just go back to the lackluster story, and I'm like, yeah, it could have been better. That's all.
and that's where it becomes the problem, right? We had a cool. We're coming off the high, like a lot of YouTubers said it. We're coming off of the high of the Witch Queen,
Yep.
where it was good. It was a curveball. It was something that was well told. Now you have Lightfall, which is half or even a quarter of what Witch Queen was, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, we're going to this new location. What about this new location makes it so unique? All right, you have a little bit of detail of this. Nothing about the giant object that's connected with the Traveler. What's that about? And it's just now we're getting told about how, like, this is connected to that. And it's like, you don't flush out anything about the Neomunans. It's like Rohan did like he sacrificed himself.
It's like I don't feel anything. I don't care about the guy. I don't know enough about him to care. Who cares? He died. Oh well.
It's just like, I agree with a lot of people that Lightfall could have been a lot better than what it rolled out with. So hopefully, with final shape being delayed till summer, hoping that they get what they need to do right. And I definitely feel bad for all the company as a whole, because obviously I don't know if everyone's on top of it, but they lost a lot of their friends because of budget cuts and stuff like that. So I'm hoping. What?
No, I was just gonna say, we talked about how good of a year it was for the games that we play, but a lot of people lost jobs because of the freaking publishers getting greedy, of course, and they're like, "Oh, we can cut these and make more of a bonus." Yeah, screw that.
You want to talk about greedy? How about we talk about Call of Duty? People have literally spent $100 for a pre-order, so $30 just for a pre-order, $70 for maybe this early access, which I'm guilty of, and then a different, like maybe $60 for just base for glorified DLC.
Ooh.
Campaign was very short. For like 8 missions, maybe 10 at max.
Oh my gosh.
The maps are okay because it's from what we remember from the old school days. But nothing about it speaks 3. It is 2.5 at this point.
I read an article, and I don't know how true it is, but I was reading an article about that, saying the developers for MW3, while they were making the game and like creating the levels and everything like that, they were under the impression it was a DLC for
Yeah.
MW2, and it was not going to be a standalone game, and they didn't know until like 3/4 of it was done. Like they were in like the home stretch, and they found out no, this is its own game.
I want to say that's true because there were plans of them doing a retro map pack where they were going to bring all these old maps that we have in 3 into 2. So
That's what they should have done. Yeah. Why the MW2 maps from 2009 and MW3? If anything, the MW3 maps from what was that 2011 or whenever should have been in this MW3. It's been really weird how Call of Duty's been lately.
And then the whole other thing is like all the weapons from 2 got imported to 3. For what purpose? Like the whole it's like oh, but I don't get to carry over my skins. Well, then keep playing 2.
And now it's just Call of Duty, it's just all in one location.
It's
so it's I'm hoping like I said, I'm hoping that they get it together.
I think they will. I think here because Activision, Bobby Kotick, all those people, they have to appease to their shareholders. And now that Microsoft owns Activision, I really hope that they start to do what Ubisoft did. And I'm actually surprised you didn't mention this one, JT, with Assassin's Creed this year, right? Like they could they don't have to put out Assassin's Creed every single year anymore. They could do it every once in a while, and hopefully that's the same with Call of Duty. Like they don't have to put out Call of Duty every year, and maybe take the studios, because Activision up until now is basically every studio is working on Call of Duty, even if they were a support studio, so they wouldn't be able to work on their own games. So I'm hoping now that Microsoft has this, they have all the money, they can give it to them, and they could have like some of their other Call of Duty studios like Sledgehammer or somebody like, hey, maybe they can make another game of their own. They don't have to be tied to Call of Duty all the time. So I really think that there will be changes coming. I already think that Call of Duty is coming out next year. It's going to be some kind of Gulf War or something. I think I've heard a rumor about something like that.
The next Black Ops.
Yeah, another Black Ops. And I think maybe after 2024 we could see like a big shake up, because obviously that game's like halfway done by now. So I'm very curious to see what 2025, 2026 is going to hold for that franchise.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about stuff that could actually be coming out in 2024. I'll start this one off. I'm really looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws. It's basically the Star Wars game, as I said, with Harry Potter, an open world Harry Potter game. This is the open world Star Wars game I've always wanted, right? Going from planet to planet. We've seen a really nice gameplay chunk of Kay Vess, who is our main protagonist, having a cool pet, going around, working in between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Yes, that is correct. That is that same time period that Shadows of the Empire was in, which is a favorite game of mine when it comes to the good old Star Wars gaming of LucasArts there. So there's a lot of potential. Ubisoft, massive, who just put out Avatar, which got really good reviews and really good word of mouth so far. I have a lot. These are the guys that did Division, so they have a lot of experience, obviously, in the game space. So I'm expecting really good things about this one. The idea that you're working in the underworld, I've always liked that aspect the most about Star Wars. Yeah, I like Jedi, Sith, Rebels versus the Empire, but I've always liked the Jabba the Hutts, the Boba Fett's, the Prince Zizors and the Dash Rendars of the world. So I'm very much looking forward to that one, because unlike Starfield, and even though I love Starfield, I like how Outlaws will actually, you can go from the surface of the planet into space with seamless transition, fighting TIE fighters. It just looks amazing. Getting your speeder bike, getting the most wanted sign when you start killing too many Imperials, and you can choose allegiances between different syndicates. You could be working for the Pikes, double cross them, work for the Hutts, and now the Pikes are coming after you, but now the Hutts are giving you better weapons because you're working with them. So it seems like it's going to be so much fun. Basically, Red Dead Redemption with Star Wars take on it is what I'm thinking it's going to be. But yeah, that is my most anticipated game. We could all go around and say our most anticipated game. We could pick one, I guess. Fighter, you're up next.
All right. The one game that I'm looking forward to, and we just recently had like a beta, earlier in the fall season, is The First Descendant. I had a lot of fun playing the beta. First Ascendant is a lot like Warframe and looter shooters and everything else, but the difference is that it has that cool fantasy um, characters style with it. Like the beta guy that I chose reminded me of Shaxx from Destiny, where
Oh.
he has a helmet on and he's your I'm a tank. I'm going to support my team and make sure that I give them buffs for defense, being able to create a safe zone in a firefight, and making sure that we get out alive. Then you have somebody who's just able to slip in and out of water and just be able to control the moisture in the atmosphere to be able to suffocate her opponents, lay
Whoa.
traps, or get in and out of fights. And it's just that once again that world play where you drop into a hub and you can be looking for help and people can come in and help you, or you're on a mission and you're like, I'm ready to join this mission, and you get put into a mission with a bunch of people that are already in progress of that mission, whether I think it will
Oh.
always be in the beginning or at least beginning to midpoint of the mission, so that way you never lose out on that boss fight loot or whatever gear that you're looking for.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely looking forward to see how um, the final product comes out, and it was very well received. Like they put out a video saying that they appreciated a lot of their fan feedback and a lot of their um, supporters for taking the time to play their game. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they will change from the beta to the final game. And it's a free to play, fully free to play,
There you
unless you
go.
wanted to speed up like build processes of weapons. Like if you really wanted to get a character, you have all the parts, but you can't wait for that day to just be done
Yeah.
building her or them. You can just pay maybe a little extra currency, just speed up the process.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's a complete free to play game. Like there is no I have to pay premium just to get stuff. It's only if you choose to do it.
Yeah. Time commitment versus just getting a little faster. Johnny, what
Yep.
about you?
Oh, my most anticipated game for 2024 should have come out this year, but Putin had other plans, so that had to delay it. Stalker 2.
Oh yeah.
I am ecstatic for that game. I loved the original Stalker. Shadow of Chernobyl, I believe is what it is.
Yep.
There are two other ones that follow that: Clear Skies and something of Pripyat. I forget now. I've only played the Chernobyl one, but it was a great survival hardcore game. Everything I've seen on 2 just looks awesome. The graphics look insane. The atmosphere, everything about it just looks like I'm gonna have a blast getting immersed in it and just getting lost in Pripyat. Stalker, if you're not aware, does have some like supernatural elements to it with like monsters and creatures and stuff like that. So there is some horror aspects to it, but it's a lot of like dealing with humans.
Yeah.
Relationships with other stalkers or different bandit factions that are in the area and stuff like that. So there's a lot of gunfights that go on. Yeah, Stalker 2, I've been looking forward to. I've been following all the dev diaries on. They were based in Ukraine, so when Russia invaded, that's why they had to keep pushing it back. They came out with videos, talking about why the game's been delayed so long. In these videos, you see these developers, like, behind the computer screen, typing away on the keyboard, and then the next scene is that same person, but now they got a helmet on and they're behind an RPK on a sandbag, outside a building.
God.
Because they're in Ukraine, it was that real for them. So luckily, from what I've read, they got out of Ukraine. I forget where they're located now. They've been able to safely work on the game, and it looks like the extra time is definitely worth it. I'm ecstatic for that game. That I'm going to be purchasing the ultra big bundle, whatever they want to call it. That's going to be my game of the year for 2024. I'm calling it already.
Yeah, I mean, talk about giving these guys all the time they need. They're in the middle of fighting for their lives. Just let them finish the game when it's ready. But does look really good. I have no experience with Stalker. I'm kind of sour that Xbox doesn't have any of the previous games on Xbox or on PC. Yet they are pushing very hard, almost like it's a first party game, because it is going to be released day one on Game Pass too. So yeah, I would like to play the first ones, but I just can't find out where to play them. That's all.
You probably gotta find it on the
Maybe on
internet
Steam?
somewhere. They're old games, you know. I was a kid when I played
Yeah.
the first one on the
Okay.
PC, so you got to do some searching. They're definitely out there. I mean, recently, in preparations for Stalker 2, I've actually been watching YouTube videos of gameplays of all three of the games I'm going through to get ready for it. But yeah, no, you can definitely search and you should be able to find it. I'm surprised they're not on Steam.
And finally, JT, what's your most anticipated game of 2024?
This has been my most anticipated game since this generation launched.
Oh.
My most anticipated game is Avowed.
Oh yeah, Obsidian Entertainment.
Basically, Obsidian's take on a Skyrim style game, but in the universe of Path of Exile.
Oh wait, Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity, yeah. Or PoE, same thing.
You're right. You're right.
It's like 2 hours past my normal bedtime, so I'm like on fumes right now. Yeah, it's Obsidian is one of my favorite studios. I mean, you got KOTOR 2,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you got Fallout New Vegas, which is by far my favorite Bethesda game, period.
Yeah.
Like,
You got Grounded. Don't
between-
forget Grounded.
yeah, Grounded. Me and Johnny played that, dabbled in that a little bit. That was cool.
And then you also have
As
the
much
one
as
spaceship sci-fi game they made recently,
Yeah,
Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds.
Which they're also making a sequel to.
It didn't hit the same way I wanted it to. I wanted it to be Fallout New Vegas in space, but it wasn't. And I think that soured my experience because I just went in with the wrong expectations, and I'm just really particular when that happens.
Yeah.
But I'm not going into this with any specific expectations. I'm just like, it's Obsidian. I'm gonna let them do their thing, and I'll like it.
I'll admit I was a bit perplexed because they put out an E3 video a couple years ago introducing Avowed, and it looked incredible. It was like this uber realistic rendering graphics. There was like a dude looking like Doctor Strange in these caverns using these spells that would appear and runes around his hand, translucent. And then the latest thing they showed was like very much like more Outer Worlds gameplay. It was in engine, but that took me by surprise. I said, "Oh wait, whatever happened to their original vision of having like that super dark, gritty fantasy look?" And now we got more of a cartoonish. I don't know if cartoonish is the right way to explain it, but it's definitely more vibrant and less dark compared to the original. But from what I've heard about this game, it's nice because it looks like it's only going to be a 30 or 40 hour game. And when we just had a year of, Baldur's Gate, Diablo 4, all these really long in the tooth games, it is kind of nice to get an RPG that has a finite amount of time. Like, yeah, 30, 40 hours, you're going to get your enjoyment out of this game and you can move on to the next one. So I think that's something to be said about having mid-sized campaigns, but nonetheless, I'm going to look forward to this one. I did not get enough time to play Outer Worlds, but I would like to squeeze it in a playthrough of that, or at least try Pillars of Eternity before jumping into this one. But yeah, great picks. And I think that'll bring us to the end of this conversation. I told you guys it would be about an hour. We doubled that, so sorry about that. But again, thanks for staying as long as you have. I think we've had a lot of great discussion. It was a busy year. Going through the list yet again, things that got mentioned more than once in our top 5. We had, Baldur's Gate with 2 votes, with a number 4 ranking, a number 3 ranking. We got Remnant 2 with 2 number 3 rankings. We had Jedi Survivor with a number 2 and a number 1 ranking. We had Diablo 4 coming in with a number 2 ranking, a number 1 ranking, and another one and another one. So 3 number 1s. So yeah, Diablo 4 is the winner by all accounts. But yeah, congrats to Dead Space also getting a couple honorable mentions on that one. But yeah, great time for games. If you guys haven't picked up any of these, if you're watching, listening, most of these games are probably on sale still right now. I think Xbox at least had like a big discount sale. Remnant 2 is on Game Pass. Jedi Survivor will probably be on Game Pass because of EA Play pretty soon. Same with Diablo 4 that's now owned by Xbox. But yeah, go ahead. Go support these studios. They brought such awesome entertainment into our lives this year. We'll see about next year, but I don't know if anything's going to be able to top the amount of high caliber games. We didn't even talk about Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, which I know was a big front runner. Super Mario Wonder, Alan Wake 2, none of us apparently have played, which I hear that game is incredible. I definitely want to play Alan Wake 2. Somebody say something about Alan Wake 2?
No, I'm getting through the first Alan Wake. Like I
okay.
downloaded the remastered on the PS5.
Yeah, I love everything Remedy does, whether it be Quantum Break or Control or Alan Wake. I never played the old Max Payne games, but yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, thanks for everybody watching. Johnny, JT, Fighter, do you guys have anything you want to plug? Do you want to plug any social media if you have any, or you want people to see your takes on the internet? I don't know.
I got nothing like that. People can follow on the internet. I'm trying to stay off of social media nowadays.
Fair enough. You're a wise man.
I got nothing. I'm always down to chat though.
All right. That leaves you, JT. Where are the people going to find you on the internet?
JT's just like, I want to go to bed, man. I'm counting sheep in my head.
Oh, there'd be plenty to see, but I got nothing to plug.
You want hot takes? Find JT on Twitter.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. You'll find him somehow.
Yeah, you'll always find me starting some argument. Or at least trying.
Oh, anyway. Well, you guys can find me here every week, youtube.com/Starrapter. I will be putting this up for audio listeners. So appreciate any feedback you guys will give me. Give me any kind of rating, 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Music. Please do hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for future video game videos. I mainly talk about Star Wars on the channel as of late, but every once in a while, like with this video, I'll mix it up a little bit. But we're going to see where the channel goes for 2024. Maybe I'll mix it up even more. But for that, for Johnny, for JT, for Fighter, for Chris, aka Starrapter, those were our top 5 games of 2023. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Send me some tweets. What were yours? Let's hear them. And otherwise, that's going to do it. Happy gaming, everybody, and Happy New Year 2024.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.